For those serious about becoming successful, consistently profitable options traders, now is the time to build skills in technical analysis, market analysis, and applied volatility to get those results. We have multiple memberships, starting with our Go membership that teaches rules-based trading and our Pro membership that teaches more subjective trading. For more information, go to lockinyoursuccess.com/memberships.
Hey, hello everybody. I hope you can hear me. I'd like to first of all welcome everybody to our celebrating 1000th episode party that we're going to have here. And this is just a little celebration that Sherry and I and Stephen and Dan have decided to put together. We have a few students that are going to come on and talk. We want to just kind of celebrate what's going on that we've been doing for over 15 years now, which is basically training traders how to trade through. It's kind of developed into something that I think is really quite wonderful here in helping traders become successful as quickly as possible. I kind of want to go over, why it started and the journey we've been through, where we're at. Again, talk to Stephen, talk to Dan, talk to some other traders that are very skilled that have been with us for a while, and kind of give an idea of what we're up to as well, and maybe where we're going from here. So a lot of great stuff here today. And, I hope you enjoy the presentation. Feel free to ask questions if you'd like to myself or anybody else who's talking. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of start with maybe some questions for myself, a little bit of interesting trivia with options trading for income, and then we'll bring Stephen on, and then we'll just kind of go from there. So some questions that I've been asked many times before is how was OTFI, or options trading for income, started, and why was it started? And that kind of gets back into the history of my trading journey and so forth, and things like that. So, when I started trading, well, the long answer is, right. So, when I started options trading for income, or sharing trading results and trading moves as we go along real time, is I was just trying to help people out. So, I started this way back in the Sheridan mentoring days. And for those of you who don't know me, I started out in Invest Tools with trading, but eventually I went into Sheridan mentoring, and we had these trading groups, and they would record the trading groups, and everyone in the organization could watch them. It was really a pretty good thing. And I believe it was somewhere around 2007 or 2008 when all the high-profile traders in the organization, they were mainly condor traders, they started blowing their accounts. They had this trade that they were trading, and it was going fine in 2005 and 2006. 2007, they started to have problems. In 2008, we had the financial crash, and the way they were trading was just simply not responsible. And so a lot of people were having trouble. And during that time period, I did fine. Like in 2008, I think it was certainly my best trading year to date. And all these people started becoming interested in this guy who was making money when everybody else was having all these problems. So eventually people started asking me to teach them what to do. And at the time, we had Lock in Your Success had already started, but it was a success coaching company. It really had nothing to do with traders, but I had a lot of traders that wanted to come on. So I'm like, yeah, sure. Just make an appointment with me, and through Lock in Your Success, we'll do some trading. And after a while, I got a decent number of trading clients. I started doing these private updates to help them learn more quickly, right? So I would do like options trading for income in a private manner with the people I was coaching, but really there was nothing else going on. And somewhere around 2009, I thought, why don't I just start sharing these trades publicly? So, given the technology of the day, oops, sorry about that. Let me just go back into here. But given the technology of the day, we just did printed updates. So, I come on publicly, And I started with the examples of 3 different trading strategies. One of them was called an M1. Right? A lot of people ask you, well, what's an M3 standing for? I had these different methods of trading. I had M1, M2, M3, and and so on and so on and so on. And there was this trade called an M1. It was an expanding butterfly strategy that I did on the SPY. If you've ever heard of the heart-friendly butterfly or seen what that is from SMB, we can talk about where the concept of that may have come from. But it was something like this, right? And then we had something called an M15, which I don't even remember exactly what that was. It was just so long ago, but it was something like a rock trade, but I don't remember for sure. And then we had a 55-day trade, which was basically an M9, what we call an M9 version 6, which most of you would most closely associate with a bearish butterfly, except we were a little bit subjective and so forth. And at that time, and one of the things that we liked, or I just want people to really think about is we had the M3, the bearish butterfly, the that we teach or that I was doing this trade. I never had any back testing software. Even if I did, they didn't have that much data, right? 2006 option view had data back to 2002, but it only had usable data up to maybe 2005. So really we had no kind of back testing data anyway. These strategies were not developed on backtester. They were developed on real time using um, sometimes no analytical software, sometimes Thinkorswim analytical software. But really, I didn't even buy OptionView. I didn't have any money, and I didn't want to buy OptionView. And some of you may be in that situation with O&E as well. But I really didn't have any money to invest in that, or I didn't think I did. Realistically, it may have helped me a little bit faster. But we're doing everything just on TOS real time, and they're all live trades too. So, but that's what we were doing, and our management was somewhat subjective, and we did that for a couple of years. So I did that in 2009. I did that in 2010. In 2011, we had a fairly big shift. 2011, by then, I was teaching more and more people. Analytical software was very useful. We were making a lot of money. So everything came into play, and I started tracking. In 2011, we also had the programs that had come out for M3 and Bearish Butterfly. I believe Bearish Butterfly was actually first. So we did that, and we decided to go. Because we had the programs out and now we had these guidelines rules, we decided to do them completely by the guidelines. And I don't really trade completely by the guidelines per se, right? I've gotten good at technical analysis over the year. I understood technical analysis. I was teaching people technical analysis. If I'm gonna understand that, why don't I use that in my trading? It's almost foolish to purposefully fly blind at that point, right? So that's where my live trading goes. It's a lot more on the subjective side, like we do in the pro membership right now. And I've literally been doing that since I started. So it's not anything that's new. It's just newer to some of the community. But I started doing simulated by the guidelines trades real time. So realize that real time trading is very different from back testing. Like I can go through a year of, I can do 10 years of M3, for example, or any trading strategy. Or so we'll say I can do 10 years at any given trading strategy with a strict set of rules, and I might have 3 years that lost during that time period. And I can make these minor rule changes to filter that out. And then, I have this new trade, but I can't expect that trade to perform that well going forward because I've made adjustments to it. So, and I'm not, I can't form fit the future. I can only form fit the past. So my point being, real time, we're getting results that we're making decisions real time, and we're dealing with rules that we made in the past, and we're trying to apply them to the current date. And that's a very different situation than backtester. And backtester, I can create everything I want. Real time tracking, I kind of get what I get. So there's a big difference there. I thought that was very useful for people. But at that point, I start tracking the M3, the bearish butterfly, as we knew it before 2020. In 2012, we started doing video updates, which was really cool. They weren't all video updates, but we would kind of mix them in and out. And by the end of 2012, that's when I really started using option view. Like if you go and look at a 2011 or early 2012 options trade for income update, you're going to see us just using Thinkorswim. But we shifted to SMB, the guidelines through the SMB programs. And again, we had the simulated trades at that point and so forth. 2013, we had the V Condor. That was part of the SSS trading strategy from SMB. We basically traded those until like 2017. Then we added the bull trade. We added the 3x4 trades. We added the UB1. And these were trading strategies not because we needed them. They were kind of trading strategies because, well, I had a lot of clients trying to please them and they're looking for longer term trades and I know for some of you, this might sound kind of crazy, but back in the time, people were afraid to go any closer than like 15 days to expiration. I mean, they were taking trades into that close and they were just getting hammered because of the implied volatility structure of the day. And they were afraid of that. So they're like, well, we want trades that we don't have to take into expiration. We want trades to start further out because there's a lot more or whatever. If you look at this today, you might say, why would you start 50 days from expiration? My goodness. I mean, but it's a very different environment now. So, but anyway, those were the trades today. In 2019, we added the M3.4U, we added the Super Bowl, and those two strategies were developed as a result of Trader Transformation live event we did in Orlando. They were pretty much just developed there. And I believe that's pretty much what we're covering today. So I'm proud to say that over the years, our focus with options trade for income has been to get better and better helping people overcome the technical and mental hurdles that prevent people from becoming truly successful. It can be very challenging to, I mean, realistically, the mechanical part of trading isn't really all that hard. It's actually a little bit more into the mental development where we have more and more of our challenges. So that is, we bring a lot of that into options trading for income and our trader success blueprint, which we thought about very we thought about very deeply before we get into this. We were like, well, what's the mental hurdles they have to overcome? Why don't we use this trader success blueprint profile and the combination of trading strategies to help people understand the mechanics of trading and also be able to get them over their mental disciplines. So I'm really good with the way, or happy with the way that tends to work out for most people. So some interesting questions is, let's just do some interesting trivia questions. We'll throw it out there, then we'll bring Steven on. I think he's ready to go. But what's the question would be, what would be the highest probability trade that we cover? In other words, if we go back and through back testing and through the live experience we had on options trade for income, what is the highest probability non-subjective trade that we cover? And that would be the Super Bowl. And that kind of surprises people because realistically, it's an out of the money bullish vertical spread. If you look at the way most people look at options trades, you'd say, oh, well, this thing's only going to win like 30% of the time. But that's not the reality. It wins almost 90% of the time. And that's amazing for something in back testing, you create whatever you want, but something that's been tracked real time for any length of time, that's pretty darn impressive. Now, secondly, is what trade wins most often, and no, I'm sorry, what trade is the most profitable trading strategy that we cover, and that's going to be the rock trade. The rock trade, year over year is fantastic. Average annual return on a rock trade. The way we've traded our options trade for income, if you take a look at the results, and again, you have recordings of ever since we've had them. If you're a Go member or higher, 80% average annual return on that trade over a 12-year period through all kinds of crazy different types of market environments. So that's pretty impressive. Easiest trade to trade is the bull trade. Our most durable trade. That's an interesting question. Actually, where is it? Here. So what's the most durable trade we cover? I think that's a really interesting question because what does durable mean and so forth. But if you were to ask me that, I would probably say the M3.4U. And the reason I say the M3.4U, it's not because it has the highest returns, and it's not because it wins the most often. It's because it's really the only trading strategy that we've had that through back testing and real-time options trading for income um, trading, and if you take a look at what happened, with the big crash in 2020 and the resulting crazy rally that we've had, if you take a look at that whole time period from 2006 to today, the M3.4U is really the only strategy we have that has not required any type of rule change. Other than the only thing, we did a very minor thing after 2020. All we did is we cut the planned capital down from 5,000 to 4,000. But other than that, there's really been no change in it whatsoever. Of course, I guess there's been no change. Actually, there's been some problems or challenges that we were having with the Super Bowl that we've talked about, and some of the things, but not as far as the trade performance, but as far as risk reward ratios and stuff. The M3.4U, we haven't really had to do anything today, so I think that's pretty amazing. What strategy have we been doing the longest? Or we'll say, what trading strategy have I been trading the longest? I would say it would be what we call the M9, which is currently known as the bearish butterfly. I don't trade it completely non-subjectively, but that was really the very first strategy I really started live trading with any significant money, and I still trade that strategy today to some extent in one form or another. So that's been probably 17 years we've been doing something like, or bearish butterfly. And then we have the most common questions here, and then again we'll turn over to Stephen just to answer these really, really quickly. What trading strategy performs best in bearish markets? That is what I would call an extremely poorly worded question, because with a time framed type of trade, right? So if we're looking at our option strategy, we're doing 30 days, 60 days, or whatever. When you have a time framed strategy, performance really doesn't have to do anything to do with general market condition. In other words, I can pick out extremely bullish markets where the bearish butterfly did very well and even outperformed a bull trade. I can point out extremely bearish markets overall with time periods that the bull trade outperformed a bearish butterfly in those markets. And the reason is because we're dealing with trading strategies that are very time framed, and you're asking a question about a general market condition, and the two don't necessarily go back to either one, right? So part of the understanding is whether a trade wins or loses any particular cycle is more based on specific timing and magnitude, timing of price movements and magnitude of price movements, and types of implied volatility shifts that happened during a very short time frame within a longer term general market. So with that information, hopefully that helps you ask better questions and think of things differently. But
hey, John, I wanted to add something in there.
Go.
Yeah. I mean, you make an excellent point, and this is a data point most people should know. The largest point move, up moves in any market typically occur in bear markets, short covering. So you'll have an aggressive sequence down, several days down, maybe even weeks, and then you can have just a face ripper of 60, 70 points in the SPX for 3 or 4 days. And if you're sitting in a so-called bearish trade, you're in some trouble. So you got, what John's pointing out is you got to recognize the overlaid context. And when you say the word bearish market, we immediately anchor to red candlesticks every single day. And that's not reality.
Right. I think that's a very good point, right? So people say, well, it's a bearish market, and they don't expect any kind of up move. That's, and if you're not prepared for that, you get hammered, right? So, but given that context of the question, if you're asking what options trade for income strategy is going to look best, if we do get that consistent down move, right? So if I get a consistent down move for 56 days, if I'm in a bearish butterfly, I get a consistent down move 56 days, then the bearish butterfly version, the bearish butterfly with say pre-2010 rules, or I'm sorry, pre-2020 rules, right? So 2010 to 2020 is the period from which the bearish butterfly program came out, to which 2020, to which we made an update that changed, had a fairly significant version or change in the guidelines. If you're looking at those rules, that's called the M9 version 12. That would be the best performing strategy in a straight down market. The current bearish butterfly we're doing is an M9 version 13 that we've been doing since 2020. We made the updates, and that is going to not perform as well in that type of an environment, but it's going to perform better in a choppy environment, which is why we made the rule change. And then you have, what strategy performs best in bullish markets? Same answer as far as the chop goes. It's the right poorly worded question, and it's not really relevant, but keeping in mind the general market condition doesn't really predict the outcome of any particular trading strategy. If you're looking at a straight up move, Super Bull is going to be your top performer, hands down, right? So, and then what do we have here? Anything else? Hopefully, I think that's the end. Yeah, so we have some guest questions and so forth. Why don't we bring Stephen on? And, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I had a couple of slides, which was basically just those questions, but
You want me to put them up here?
You could just do that and save us
Yeah, we can do that.
Switch, and I could speak to it. So I'm trying to remember when I think I came on as a member, or no, I'll even back up. I think, like most people, I probably saw a YouTube video or maybe it was a shared video when you were with SMB of going over these trades, and I first saw a glimpse of the option view software and what John was talking about, and I was like, I was almost like my eyes burned. I was like, oh my gosh, what is this complicated thing? He's looking at risk profile. What is that? And this is back in the days when, you're doing options because you think you're a directional genius, and then if that doesn't work, we'll sell premium, and then if that doesn't work, we'll sell premium on both sides and do a condor. So for whatever reason, for me at the beginning, I was a little bit intimidated by it, and then I subsequently joined and really sunk into options trading for income webinar, and just followed along religiously with what he was doing to try to kind of make sense of it all. Because it was a rather radical. I mean, even at the time, this was 2013 or 14 for me, but it was still somewhat radical from what was going on in the income trading community. Radical, this idea of a sort of a butterfly or broken wing butterfly just below the money with some time in it. And oh, by the way, in the Russell, like who even knows what that is?
Yeah. At the time, like if you look at that type of trading, everybody's doing condors, right? And
right.
I mean, I think I like to say I pioneered this, I believe, because I don't know of anybody who's doing what we're doing at the time.
No, that's absolutely right, and probably even I don't know, it's the CBO or the CME, whoever governs the rut probably owes you a big commission because you brought a lot of activity to the options in that product, because people were just trading basically SPX and probably even just SPY. So that was even kind of a big change. And as you get into understanding this campaign style of trading, you'll understand why. There's a huge skew difference. The way the implied volatility and the pricing is different in the Russell than it is in the SPX, and there's edge in that. So having said that, I just want to give you a little background where I was coming from with it. And my favorite strategy from the Trading for Income webinar series was a little bit of a story. And I think it's the everyman story, or the every person story, that kind of comes into this off the street, so to speak. It was the bearish butterfly, and it was all for the young and dumb reasons. The rules were easy. You could make a lot of money. Right. So all the things that, well, first of all, doesn't encompass enough parameters and it focuses on outcomes. And oh, by the way, the wrong outcome, you should always look at risk first. That trade as a full-size trade can potentially make $15,000, but oh, by the way, it can lose $15,000. And you sort of ignore that in the beginning, right? I call it the young and dumb stage. And the rules were somewhat easy, whereas the M3 seemed complicated. Just like anything else that's new, of course, it's going to seem somewhat complex and complicated, but that's why you take the time to learn and dissect and take it one step at a time. And of course, that's one of the overarching purposes of this webinar that John does every Monday, is to take out the complexity and simplify and break it up into bite-sized pieces. But once I got adjusted to things, then I said, you know what? I really like this rock trade. And I gravitated towards that for what I'd like to think were more robust reasons. The trade itself took into consideration market movement and changes in implied volatility without having to analyze either one of them. So to this day, I think it's still pretty amazing. You don't look at a price chart and you're not looking at a skew profile chart, and yet it still incorporates both. And so it was extremely robust. Now, I will say it took some time to digest the rules and really grasp what was happening, but there were definitely a lot of aha moments along that journey. And that trade, with its robustness and its ability to manage the risk more effectively than some other trades, was really my go-to trade up until 2019. I mean, that's all we traded. So, and more importantly, and even to this day, the lessons from that carry over in such a huge way was learning how to trade during expiration week.
That set you up for this environment, right?
Exactly. John knows the style of trading I'm doing now, and it's to take everything into expiration. And I probably would not be where I'm at without having traded the rock in that manner. And again, the rock trade, and this is old school rock for people that are trading it now. We have a different skew structure, but it starts out, just so people know, it starts out as a 30-day M3. And as you get closer to expiration in a more favorable market skew for that trade, you move into what we call a tight condor, and it could be two closely related butterflies, could be up to 3, and then you move those around as the market wiggles around. And that trade could really draw down an expiration week, but with the built-in adjustments, if you understand what's happening, it could gain that back so quickly. And so, like I said, that just really set me up for being able to do that now with basically any trade. I mean, every trade I get into, I'm like, there's no profit target. We're going to expiration. We're taking this thing as long as we can stay within reasonable risk parameters. And the rock really opened up that opportunity for me. And without being able to follow that trade, especially, because for me, it was a matter of, okay, this is what, in the beginning, this is what I've done to my rock trade, as I would trade it into, the Friday before expiration and exit it. It was a process for me to get myself to graduate to trading expiration. And then I would paper trade expiration week, and then I would check on Mondays with how John traded it. By the rules, but there was certainly gray areas, and there's decisions you have to make. We're thinking traders, we're not robotic. And that was where I gleaned so much learning, was to see, you could take path X or path Y and have similar outcomes, but just understand what it is you're doing and what the trade-offs are. So that was really impactful for me. And then the next question, have I live traded the strategy according to the guidelines? If so, how long? Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't finish the first part of the other question. And now that the rock is basically an M3 all the way through due to the skew environment, my favorite trade now is the M3-4U, as most people would know that follow our Trading with the Pros webinar. It's my base trade. And from there, I take it into full subjectivity, and it can morph into a different trade. It can be combined with different trades. It could take a lot of different forms, but it's my home base trade is M34U, and I started trading it by the rules since its inception in 2019 when John rolled it out around the same time we had the Trader Transformation Workshop in Orlando. And after a few months of trading that by the rules, after I was thoroughly prepped by the rock trade, and by the way, understanding the rock trade and its different machinations really helped me sort of internalize the M34U. And of course, I had traded the M3 as well. Just made that trade so much more robust for me. And now I use the rules as kind of a risk check. So I'm not necessarily just trading it subjectively by the deltas. But I'm very aware of what the deltas are. And that kind of produces some guardrails for me as I'm going through my sort of decision tree and my risk reward probability analysis. So, and yes, I'm definitely still trading it subjectively. I went through that. And then lastly, do I feel that trading the strategy by the guidelines helped prepare me to trade subjectively today? Definitely. I mean, I've already mentioned a couple of examples there, and I would even go so far as to say, and I do with my students, it's a prerequisite. You have to be able to trade any strategy by the guidelines for a few reasons. One, to prove that you understand the instruction set, not some sort of, I pieced together some stuff off YouTube, and then I saw somebody do some deal over there, and then I kind of got the rules. It's 20 over here and 17. I kind of got it. That's sloppy, and sloppy's not. You're not going to make it in this high performer endeavor, whether it's a side hustle, your main gig, with that kind of attitude. So you have to really understand the instruction set, back testing it, trading it live, and then also prove to yourself, can you demonstrate trader integrity? And to me, what that means is, can I prove to myself I can follow a trading plan as outlined by the guidelines? Entry day, exit day, follow the deltas, the adjustment strategy.
Right. Have the patience to wait it out. I think this is one of the big things. I mean, a lot of people criticize me for not getting in reps, even you do, Stephen, right? Because the strategies take so long. But the reality is that trait of being able to have patience and letting a trade sit for days without getting some sort of result, or not, and thinking I have to do something but not doing something, is really quite a good skill to master, and it's going to benefit you greatly when you go out.
Absolutely. Yeah. And this 5-second attention span world we live in, which is literally, I think, the average for our brain, right? I mean, I'd like to think that was a gross exaggeration, but it's not. It can be a challenge. But until you've demonstrated trader integrity, like if you can't follow the plan as laid out by the program, then how are you going to follow a plan that you customize, and develop yourself? You're not. You're going to fly by your seat of your pants. You're going to make some panic adjustment. Been there, done that. So you have to sort of earn the right to graduate to subjectivity, and you can't get there without trading by the guidelines. And secondly, or maybe even thirdly, is trading it by the guidelines. You have to understand how that trade's going to behave in different environments, right? So not only sort of bearish trending and bullish trending environments, but when skew changes, when we go flat to steep or steep to flat. And you have to go through those different seasons, whether through back testing, preferably live, to really understand how this trade is going to behave differently. So like in 2019, we were adjusting to the upside, like thing wasn't even hardly out of the tent to the upside. And now I can let that thing go almost 50 points before
Right.
it triggers an adjustment in some cases. So you have to understand that. So it's not just like a surprise, like, oh my gosh, what's happening? I don't get it. Is the software broken? And panic, panic, panic. And then you start doing things that were not on your plan. So trading at a different market seasons and contexts is critical. And then that also will drive, when you're subjective, that will drive your different menu of tools and adjustment strategies, right? Depending on what market context I'm in, particularly SKU context.
Yeah.
Right. So I really let my subjective M34U breathe to both sides. I'm not just because it's, you know, 2 times the delta or outside the tent doesn't just automatically trigger an adjustment, but that's because I understand the context of
Right. You put in the work and you've
trade.
learned all that stuff through the time experience. Exactly.
Yeah. And that's really it, John. And I think those are all really important criteria that you can't just jump right into subjective trading. You're really going to have to develop scars and bad habits. So it's a prerequisite in my mind, and you have to earn it to get to subjectivity through trading by the guidelines.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you 100%. Well, thank you for coming on and sharing with us, Stephen. I appreciate it greatly. And I guess we'll move on to David.
We have just one quick second. Sure. Do all your trades have strategy guidelines? Oh, sorry. This is just a general question. Okay.
Right. That's just a general question.
Okay. Right. Thanks.
Thanks. And is David next one?
Yes, he is. And he's
There he
queued
is.
up. There he is.
Ah, there he is. Hey, David, how are you?
Guys? I'm doing great. Let's see. Can you see me? I guess not. It says you cannot start your video because the host has stopped it.
Oh, maybe Sherry can fix that. I don't know even how to do that.
Let me see if I can. Okay, let me see.
Well, see,
John, as I think the main presenter may have to.
I'm going to make David co-host.
There you go.
He can come on and he could do whatever he wants.
That's right. I'm wondering if I can. Oh, there he is. Okay.
Hey,
how's it going?
Doing great. It's good to be back on here. Like, it doesn't matter if it's been a year or before January. It was 4 or 5 years, and then we just get back on here and it's like family. So I appreciate that. And it's funny. I'll go back a couple of minutes to Stephen's comment about the 5-second attention span. I've got 3 young kids, so I can absolutely verify that that's true these days, because it's like oh, look, squirrel, and then it's off to something else. So we as traders are like that as well.
And we all fall victim to that too, I think.
Absolutely.
From time to time.
Yes. Thank you both for asking me to come on. It's quite an honor for me to just come on with you guys. But first, I want to say thanks to both you, John, and Sherry, for just all your hard work and dedication to your craft. Like 1,000 episodes. Like, if you do a quick some mental math, that's like over 19 years if you did one a week. I don't know how often.
Yeah, we did some multiple times a week early on, but really it's been a solid 15 years. So
yeah, and that takes quite a lot of dedication for the options for you, John, and for those that don't know Sherry quite as well. She is big behind the scenes here, and also a business person, astute business person who years ago created with Financial Freedom Classroom, which I watched those and actually did a one-on-one with my wife and her when we were starting into rental real estate, and we both helped out immensely on that. So a tip of the hat to both of you. Thank you.
yeah, Sherry's the none of this would happen without Sherry.
Thank you, you guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, David. That was very nice of you.
Yeah. And I'm kind of certain if you've got people that have been here with you for a while, they know me, they've heard my stories but just real quick, I started trading options in 08 or 09 when a fellow I was working with was telling me how great his account was, and I was calling BS on it, and he was telling me about options, and of course that perked my interest. I've kind of been interested in the financial world since high school, but never really got into options, and started as everyone did with uh, cash secured pull puts and buy
Right.
calls.
The wheel strategy and all that
Yeah.
other stuff. Yeah.
Of course, in 08, 09, that worked great as we started to climb back up. So you thought you're a genius until you got knocked down again. And then I found some more advanced teachings. And then around the 2013 time frame is when I stumbled upon your stuff. And haven't looked back since. It's been over 10 years. And I guess you can see my shirt now that Sherry produced for our January meeting. I've got that all up in full display, trading mode, all systems go, right?
There you go. All systems go. That's great. Did you want to just go through the questions, or do you have something else you want to talk about? Or
I don't have anything that I've prepared for this. So sure, I can go through this and hopefully
sure. So favorite trading strategy.
Well,
Okay.
the one that I'm most fond of,
favorite
John,
strategy from options trade for income.
yeah, the one I'm most fond of is your original M3, and that was the first one. It looks like I might be far from my mic, but can you guys hear me? Okay.
Oh, I hear you.
Okay,
Yep.
great.
Actually, somebody
original-
can't though. Yeah, but okay,
Yeah,
go
the
for it.
original M3 is the one that got me started. And I also at the same time got the package with the rock and the bearish butterfly. But of course, I started there, watched it a million times, took lots of notes, and that's where I just kind of dove in on the Greeks and kind of geeked out on the Greeks, so to speak, and what you call Greek trends, I think. And so the way that your T+0 lines moves from T+0 to the hard expiration line, and that always fascinated me. It still does. And now, of course, when we talk about IB, you realize that it's not about delta. Not that that's incorrect way of adjusting your trade, but maybe I hate to use the word better, but a more advanced way of adjusting and looking at your trade is by way of what is implied volatility now and what you plan on building. And you can also then look at
Volume's getting low again, David.
Yeah.
Too.
okay.
There we go. There we go. That's better.
I don't know if
That's good.
the volume is close to my computer or close to my mic. So I'll keep it up here. So yeah, I really enjoyed your M3, and that's where I learned the nuts and the bolts of everything. Everybody wants a trade. I want to trade this, and I want to make X number of dollars a month. That's not really how it works in trading. And you'll notice what people focus on and what their end game is by how long they trade. If it's just a short time and they're on to something else, it's because they weren't in it for the right reasons. And that's okay. There's enough people out there that are and want to learn that it's good. So you have to, like you said, like we talked about, you're a master of your craft. And as you've moved on through the years, I've seen you go from adjusting at certain deltas to watching the T+0 line. And so I'm trying to follow in those footsteps.
Yeah, I mean, with as you guys are on your journey, I'm on my journey. I'm always learning and improving as well, and I'm always trying to figure out ways to communicate that better, so you guys can, stay up with everything everything I'm learning.
Absolutely. And so for me, my day to day, most of my time is spent on toss on my mobile phone, but that's because I've done my homework on my computer here after hours. and I'll go into toss and I'll set up vertical spreads or butterfly spreads, both ahead of the market and behind the market, calendar orders ahead and behind the market, and know what they should go for at certain prices. And then I have those in the as working orders with a very favorable price to me. And then that way, if I'm out and about with the kids, or if I'm traveling somewhere and have 5 minutes to take a look, I can say, okay, the Russell's up 20. And it might just go that far and be like, okay, well, I know with the 20-point move, I don't need to do anything. I can take a look at it later on down the line.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things I get is, well, I have to work and I can't, so I can't trade, or I can't be in front of a computer, so I can't trade. So you're living proof of that.
Absolutely. Well, and some people, I think, maybe tie an identity to, I'm a trader. I'm sitting in front of my NORAD, 18 screens, that whole thing. And it's really not about that. You just can, hopefully you get to a point where you can just get in, get it done, and move on with your life. Because that's why one of the big reasons I do this, to make the extra money to do other things in life that appeal to me. Sitting in front of a computer, not so appealing, really.
I'm with you, my friend.
Yeah.
So do you do any strategies now from option for income, or I guess I should say, have you ever traded them by the guidelines, and for how long?
Absolutely. There was a time, John, not long after 2013 when you and I first talked, and got the strategies, and all the way up to maybe 2019, maybe into 2020, where I had an M3, a classic M3 on all the time. That was my bread and butter, and that helped create more accounts to
bringing more money in. Yeah.
Yes, and then that was by learning not just the M3 as a trade, but the strategies and the using verticals and where to put the verticals, and rolling up, rolling back. Those were the type of things that then helped me really dig in and absolutely adore the original rock trade. And there for a while I did that. And I can attest that that is the highest producing trade, at least in my live trading, up until that year.
Yeah. For a guidelines trading strategy, that's really good. Yeah.
And I did do that by the guidelines. I did it as a 30-day trade, tight, close condor. Nowadays, it's tough to get that, and I don't do the rock trade as instructed now, but it's something that I need to take a look at.
Well, I think it's a process that you go through, and I've always said that. Even if you look at the original M3 program that came out through SMB, I'm like, this is not, the trade rules aren't the most important thing here. Everybody's on trade rules. Most important thing is understanding the concepts we're trying to teach. And if you learn the concepts we're trying to teach, you'll be able to do whatever you want.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's a great point, John. And I'll leapfrog off of that and say that, so now I am more subjective, and I've gone into, say, a base of the M3 for you, but not exactly as instructed. I will usually start off and model a 50-40 in the rut. That being said, I also at the same time model a 60-50 in the SPX. And so I may put on both. I may put on one. What looks more favorable? What has each index done over the last, say, 30 days? If I'm going to build out 30 days, and that's kind of my North Star, as you might say. I always have the next trade in queue on toss that I'm always looking at and checking prices and stuff. And it takes a minute or two each morning to look at and say, is this going to be a good day to do? So it doesn't take a ton of time. You can take as long as you want and sit there and stare for hours at indicators.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's not that hard. If you spend, I tell people, if you're spending that much time, you got something else going on. It doesn't take that long. Yeah.
And again, it's like you said in the past, give any good trader at a trade and they'll make money at it. And so there was a time right around COVID, I did a webinar with S&B and yourself about the car trade. And all it was something that I wanted to make about $500 a month to pay the note on my car. And it was just a silly thing. And the premise of it was a full put spread behind the money with a symmetrical butterfly a little bit behind the money.
Right.
Yeah.
Like a bull versus bear trade almost. Yeah.
Yeah, almost like a bull versus bear trade. Yes.
Right.
And
Another thing we
that
play
went
around with.
away for a while. Yeah. So you can do anything, and nothing's magical about it at all. It's mental. It's how you trade. I can't stress that enough. People are coming in off the street and they're thinking, "Oh, I want this trade that I can check the boxes from." It's not like that at all. It's more of an art than science.
Absolutely. I think that's the biggest point. And, you know, a lot of the career I've had, I've tried to accommodate what traders wanted, but they want something that's not trading. So it's like, well, you know, so now I'm getting more and more direct with them, I guess. I'll be like,
Yeah.
You know, you see somebody come in with a certain set of questions and you're like, yeah, well, this person isn't going to make it until they get hammered around for a while, you know, and you have to wait for them to get ready to actually make money. You know, the questions, the telltale questions are, I want to see the results of this trade and I have to have trading rules or whatever. I have to see your results. It's like, yep, sorry, you're not ready.
Yeah. I don't need you as a student.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's like when you get over that and you want to learn to trade, let me know and we'll we'll work with it. You know. Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, thank you for sharing with us, David. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Coming on, and we should talk more often. So we'll see if we can try and work that out.
Very good. All right. Great to see you guys, and excited to listen in to the next guys.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, David.
All right.
Thanks,
Take care, guys.
Is who's coming on next here?
Tano is ready on deck.
Okay, Tano, hello.
See if we can
I don't see him yet.
unmute.
And see if I might have to promote him.
We
to
do
co-host.
have nope, he's there. I was just going to read the comment from Eric. He said, congratulations. And thank you guys. The bearish butterfly was the first time I became profitable, consistently profitable. So thank you,
awesome.
Eric, for that.
Thank you, Eric. Yep. Thank you for sharing. Still a great strategy. I love that type of strategy. There's a lot of learning with it. So love that.
I think Tano's ready. Hi, Tano.
Hey, how are you guys? Can you hear me?
Yep.
We
I
can.
hear
How are you?
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Do I need to turn on the video? I'm not sure what I'm.
You don't have to, but if you could, that'd be good. You know,
Okay. I thought I was. So let's see. Is that in settings or? I did test it ahead of time and I thought I was on.
Oh, you should have a control panel with video.
Oh, I see it.
Yeah.
It says because the host has stopped it, I cannot.
Yeah. So we got to make you co-host. Let me see if I can do that. Make co-host, and then you should be able to do that. I'm not sure why that happened, but
Oh, there you go.
hey, there you are.
I guess the lighting is not that great, but
That's
is that
okay. That's
It's
good.
fine, okay.
Yep.
It's brighter behind me. I just came home. Thanks for having me on. This has been great listening to the other people.
Absolutely. Did you want to just go through the questions? Did you have something prepared?
I don't have anything prepared. We can go through the questions. But Stephen and David did such a great job, and my journey mirrors theirs so much. So there might be some repetition.
That's okay. I mean, you can never hear it enough. I think we're all going through the same type of journey, and it's a learning process, right?
Yeah, and it's a great affirmation to me. But yeah, the options trading for income webinars was the first thing that I started watching when I got introduced to your website. And this was probably back in 2012 or so. And kind of like Stephen was saying, the bearish butterfly and the M3 were the first two strategies that kind of got my attention. And I didn't know much about what I was doing at all, well, back then, or maybe even now. But the I bought the M3 program and the bearish butterfly. And as you, in your words, as you have said, the M3 is very much a trade that teaches you how to trade. And I learned a lot from those guidelines. The adjustments, understanding volatility and time and price and the relationships. And I remember you reinforcing words like, it's not the delta that matters, but it's the delta trend and it's the Vega trend. And learning those concepts that all came from watching the webinars and going through the program. So as far as favorite trading strategy, I did the M3 a lot earlier on, probably from 2013 to about 17 or so. And then I did the bearish butterfly off and on in there. I think that is a great strategy too. But I was not great at trading that under 21 days.
Okay.
And my full-time job is me and my wife run a restaurant. So it's tricky for me time-wise to do certain adjustments and things like that. And I think it mentioned to Sherry and you, but we've done it 20 years, and end of October, we're actually closing.
Right.
So I've been looking forward to that and excited to that, but that's kind of been a time constraint. So the M3, so the bearish butterfly was just harder for me back then to work with. And then I started doing broken wing butterflies and playing around with that, and then got into the M3 once that started being tracked on the webinar. So I would say the M3 is probably has been my favorite trading strategy. And I've traded that. I've started trading that by the guidelines initially to get the feel and the difference from an M3 to an M3 and I should say I also did do the rock program earlier on too. And I could tell that I think that is the most kind of robust risk reward kind of structure there is. But I quickly could tell that this is going to need more time and attention from me than I could possibly give. And it's funny because 10 years ago, I thought through this and I back tested it, and I was like, well, someday when I don't have the restaurant anymore, I'm going to come back to this, to this trade. So I've kind of watched it, followed it. And I actually have been trading it live this year, kind of getting ready for hopefully trading it more. So, that may become my favorite strategy going forward, but I haven't traded it live for too long.
Right.
So yeah, my journey kind of mirrors what Stephen was saying, and I'm probably not as subjective as he is, or some others are in the community, but I do trade subjectively, but I would say my subjective trading is not so much based on technicals, but more based on just my deltas. Like I may go a little outside of my parameters subjectively, just because I'm comfortable doing that. I know how the components work a little better. And one trade that's not on the webinar, which I do use subjectively, are calendars. They have been great for me the last 2 or 3 years to kind of throw them on there along with the M3
Now, did you get the calendar spreads class, or did you just?
I did, yeah.
Oh, you did. Okay, yeah.
I did, and I haven't finished it. I haven't gone through all of it.
Mhm.
That's an intense, heavy class. So
Absolutely.
So there's certain things that I'm looking forward to once I have more time, and that's one of the things. Um, so yeah, I've live traded the strategy, the M340 according to guidelines, and like Steven was saying, it's so important to do that repeatedly, live and back testing before going off and doing something subjectively. It just gives you the confidence of, especially when you have a losing trade or a losing streak, you understand why and all of that. So
Yeah, I think that's important, understanding your losses and understanding your wins. So it's very
Yeah.
good. So, so do you think that the options trader for income, do you think that's helped you trade subjectively? A little bit more subjectively?
Yeah, absolutely. And I've only traded the rut strategies. It's just because that, I started with M3 and bearish butterfly and rock, and that was all rut. So when the SPX trades came along, I'll follow them, but I haven't really traded them.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's great. Great.
See, I will add one thing. To me, the biggest value of these webinars, I mean, there's a lot of value, but one thing I'll find myself is, if I hit a rough patch, or like, for example, what just happened in the last month with the
Right.
big moves in July and August, actually on the rut going up and going down and all over the place. It really helps me to go back and listen to the webinars and see how the different trades were adjusted and hearing different options from you, what different choices you could make on different stress. So it's almost like going in and laying on a psychologist's couch after a period like that and watching these webinars, because it affirms some of the things I was thinking. It shows me some things I did wrong, and so it's almost like a coaching session in and of itself. And I've found value in that repeatedly. Over these years, we've had, when we had in 2015 the S&P downgrade, or in 2017 when the markets just went up every day, or early 2018 when it reversed. I remember distinct times, COVID, when I was more intentional on going back to the webinars and getting myself kind of in the right mindset. So I think that's a huge value for me.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear. It's awesome. Yeah, we've been through a lot, haven't we, in the last 10 or 12 years, in the last 15 years.
Yeah. And I love the new rock. When I say new rock, as in the elimination of certain structures and just the way it's traded now, given our volatility environment. I mean, that might change. Right. But I think that's a great risk reward strategy.
It is. Yeah. Yeah, it is. Thank you for sharing that. Do you have any last words?
No, I think that's about it for me.
Okay. No, that's great.
It's been fun listening to everybody else, for sure.
Yeah, well, it's been great having you as a member and as a friend for many years now, and we really appreciate that. And thank you for coming on and sharing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Thank you, John. Thanks, Sherry.
Thank you, Tano.
Thanks, Tano.
Thank you. Thank you.
Do we have Chris now?
Yes, Chris is on deck.
Let me make him co-host so he can share his screen if he would like.
Absolutely.
Hey, John, Sherry, can y'all hear me?
Yes, I can. How are you?
Awesome. I'm awesome. How are you both?
Great.
Very good.
Did you have some stuff you wanted to talk about? Do you want to do questions?
Sure. Yeah, we'll
Go through them yourself. Yeah, however you want.
I'll make it easy on you. I'll hit the questions, but definitely want to talk a little bit.
Sure.
Option trading for income. See if my video comes up. All right.
Hey, yeah. Good to see you.
All right. Thank y'all for having me on. I'm always so honored when I get asked to participate in these kind of events, because I'm like, why would they want to hear anything from me? But I gain so much value just being part of the community and hearing all the nuggets of wisdom that you tell us every day, John. And so being a part of option trading for income over the last, couple of years has been great. And it just continues to get better. I almost think, on the surface, if you didn't know much about it, I think you kind of think, well, it's for beginners, but it's really not, because the more you learn about the strategies and the more that you learn about trading concepts and technical analysis, the more you get out of those sessions, because you start seeing how you're applying that in real time and how the different trades react and how there's different adjustment philosophies or tools that you can pull through. It's like, I think I was like many, I initially just wanted to learn the rules, right? And it's like, oh, you're taking all the specific rules down. But then as I kind of grew, it was like, well, it's good to follow these trades, even if I'm not trading them all live. And I know you don't recommend to trade all of them live, because I can see how the different trades are reacting in real-time environment, or our current environment, and how things are changing, and how over time certain trades may be impacted by changes in the environment. And so that's been tremendous to me, even being a little bit further down my journey. I'm still got a long ways to go, but being a little bit, not brand new to where I'm just learning, different trading rules and management and risk management. I gained so much insight by tuning in. And so it's been very, very key component of my development, and honestly, my preparation on a week-to-week basis. I just like to see what's going on, and because I'm not trading them all live, you're not necessarily in tune to how, hey, maybe this trade is performing versus that. But I want to apologize to Steven. I missed the first part of his. I was late. I was in preparation for this session. I was watching all 1,000 episodes, and I hadn't finished up quite. So, I joined a little late. I missed his session. But all kidding aside, I definitely haven't heard all 1,000, but I have probably the last couple of hundred. And it's been something that, again, like I mentioned from the onset, has been super valuable to me.
Right. We don't recommend everybody go and watch every 1,000, but they're there if you want them, You can see how things change through the years and so
yes,
forth.
Yes, absolutely. So in terms of favorite strategies from options trading for income for me, I mean, my go-to is M34U. I love that strategy. I love the flexibility. I think it's a good for a lot of environments, but you can't, they are just trades, and you have to, over time, learn how to modify them. But I feel like it gives you such a great kind of canvas to shift and to mold and to take advantage of different, as things evolve over a trading cycle, you can do different things with that, trading strategy. And it's pretty simple to learn, very straightforward. I think for someone who's kind of getting into this, the adjustments are fairly easy. But it's so powerful how you can kind of tweak that. I would say I do trade that strategy live, and like I said, that's my kind of go-to. But I also really like the bearish butterfly at certain times, more to when we're getting kind of extended in kind of a run. I start thinking, well, I'm going to flip out of an M34U this cycle, and get more into a bearish butterfly, just because my posture is starting to get a little bit more, hey, we're extended, we're coming into key longer term levels where we could have some type of negative reaction about that. I'd rather not be in a BWB if that happens, and rather be, take advantage of the market kind of coming back a little bit. So right. I kind of combine both of them, but I'm very careful doing it, because I've heard you say over and over again, be careful about your strategy swapping. You've got to, stick with this and hold size even through the good and the bad time for these to work as a standalone strategy long term, right? But we all know that trading subjectively, that's not the goal necessarily. It's to trade the same way every cycle. It's to modify it and to take advantage of the opportunities that are in the current cycle and what the market is currently doing or it's probable to do. Mm-hmm. So I kind of combine the two of those strategies. I've really tried to trade the M3 and the rock in real time. And I think I can if I could continue to do it. It really, those trades to me really force you to, you know, to let the trade play out, the discipline that you need to develop as a trader. I mean, learning the guidelines, that's the biggest benefit of learning the guidelines is knowing, becoming disciplined as a trader, becoming disciplined as a risk manager. And, and then I think when you add subjectivity, you start to have, okay, well, I'm going to layer in some other things to this that maybe would give me a pass on being so disciplined. For example, I mean, with the M34U, and if we're kind of getting to where, we're at key resistance levels, or we're in more of a choppy environment. Well, we're more in a choppy environment. Probably wouldn't want to be in an M34U, but you may delay your adjustments and override that discipline as a guideline trader. But when you're able to layer in that subjectivity, and it's like, okay, yes, I'm at my delta, my max delta, but I'm really not. When you stand back and you look at it from a standpoint of, okay, what's my risk reward? What's the probability of things that are going to happen next? Do I really want to make that adjustment right now in light of what the market's doing or what it's probable to do? I may want to do something different or delay that adjustment until it's a little clearer. So I think, the last question says you feel like it's helped you be in a trading by the guidelines. It's absolutely helped me because you develop that discipline, you develop the knowledge, the tools to go to work with, so to speak. But you also have to, when in transitioning to subjectivity, you have to learn how to kind of get away from that some, and that sometimes people are uncomfortable with that. I know I was initially. It's like, oh, well, I'm at this delta. I should be adjusting right here, right? And sometimes that's, if you really stand back and approach it from the new trade I would want to put on right today, not necessarily that adjustment is not really going to help my trade, given what I think is going to happen or what's probable to happen based upon what's in the market. So I think once you kind of get to where you can get away from the rules, you've proved to yourself that you can be disciplined, you need it. And yes, you're going to always manage the risk and not blow up an account, so to speak, because you're being stubborn about things. But there are times when you want to adjust that. And I've picked up probably from option trading for income or some other form. I mean, if things are trending, yeah, maybe you want to be a little more with the rules. If they're channeling, especially on M34U, then, maybe you can be a little slower with the rules. And so there's things like that you start to apply that really kind of enhance your trading, and I think put you in a better position to win.
Yeah. I mean, do you think I think the only way to really understand some of this stuff is by actually trading by the guidelines and just seeing, what happens. And I think getting to the point where you can take a look at a guidelines trade and you can say, this is not a good time to adjust this, or not a good time to enter it, or not a good time to exit it, I think is a very good skill to have, right? Because that shows you understand the trade, and you understand the weaknesses and the strengths and so forth. And basically, you know what you're doing. It's just what we're trying to coverage. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, not getting so married to it, because I think that's the other caution I would tell for newer individuals. Definitely follow the process that John really pushes you through, which is, learn the rules first. Get comfortable with that. I mean, we're like that from day one. But then you challenge people to kind of push that to the next level. But I would say it's great to learn those rules, but then at some point when in order to be a more consistent trader, you're going to have to get to where you're more subjective. I guess if you could trade one of these strategies by the guidelines, and over time you'll make 30% average annually, unless the market changes significantly from where we have today or have historically been, and you'll do fine. And maybe that's okay for some, but like to really be consistent, you got to add that layer. You got to be good at being subjective to some of the time, not all the time, but some of the time. and learn how to apply that. And so it's definitely a work in progress still for me, to this day, but I feel a lot more comfortable about it. And then I think it's not just about, to me now, it's less about the trades and the adjustments and the positioning. Like, I get all of that. I know how I can position to take advantage of the market. For me, most of my time now is spent on getting better with that technical analysis side of things, right? But not doing it to the degree that you're not paying attention to what volatility is doing and what price is doing. But it's, I want to kind of understand where the market is doing what we would expect it to do, and when it's not, and position accordingly. And that's really where I spend more of my time now versus, studying different rule sets. Because I'm if I know what the market's going to do, or if I have a good idea what the market's going to do, then I know I can find a trade that'll take advantage of that. And that's partly from just studying them so broadly in option trading for income and all the discussions we have in the forums.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So yeah, thank you for sharing that with us, Chris. That's it's really great to see your progress. And again, I thank you for being a member and for putting your trust in us here and doing so well, because we love to see people obviously do well.
Oh, thanks, John. I appreciate you and Sherry and everything you all do. And definitely would not have it any other way. It's been a great experience, and I enjoy it's part of my kind of routine to be involved and to continue to study and to continue to learn. And I'm never going to say I've made it as a trader just because I don't feel like any of us ever make it. But
It's a constant process,
it's a constant, continuous process. And the market's not going to stay the same, so you better keep evolving.
Good. Well put. Well put. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Chris. And we look forward to seeing you on the forums.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you very much. Thanks. You all have a great day.
You too. Thanks. John, I'll let you make John co-host. And I was just going to speak this comment from Brandon. He said, I agree with you, Chris. It's not just for beginners. Same with Tano. It's very therapeutic. I run a hedge fund now, and I'm still in OTFI. So thank you, Brandon, for that comment. We really, really appreciate it.
Thank you, Brandon. Yes, we do. And again, I'm glad to have you there. I love my students. I love teaching you guys, and I love to see your progress. Sometimes I can sound a little mean, as Sherry says, but it's all for you guys.
I let him know when he's being kind of too real.
Let's see if we get John Wilson on here. I got him. He supposedly.
I'm sending him a note. John Wilson. Let's see.
Yeah,
there he goes. I think he's coming now. Here we go.
Okay. I tried upgrading him to a panelist. I can allow him to talk. But
can you hear me? Hello?
I can hear you, John. How are you?
Booyah.
Booyah. There you go. Let me
hold on a second.
I'm going to see if I can get you into a panelist or something, into a
little guy there.
So now you're a panelist. Let me get you into, in case you want to show your screen. I'll make you a co-host. Okay.
I'm good.
I'll make you a co-host anyway, but it's all good.
Oh, there you are. We can see you, John. I don't know if you want us to see you, but there you are. Hi, John.
Yeah, I can't see anything. I'm at the car dealership, so I'm kind of incognito. I'm gonna be. Yeah, I know. And this
are you buying a car?
No, it's not working too well. So I gotta trade better.
No, come on. You're taking your gains from all those rules-based trades and you're cashing it in for a new Tesla. Come on. He's just being modest, guys.
Oh gosh. I like that. I'm in Alberta. We don't like Teslas up here. But no, hey, this is good. 1,000 episodes. I mean, that's crazy. Marriages don't last that long. So I have my little list here of things to talk about. Yeah. So for those who are new, I started in 2012 with the JL himself and Sherry. So that was in the fall of 2012. Because I went to some Invest Tools thing, and the guy next to me said, "You got to check out this guy, John Locke." And I was just all over the place. I mean, I would sign up for anything, just as long as I had good merch. And one guy I signed up with, he was using the stars to figure out trades. So anyway, the stars in your eyes, John. That's why I joined you. But but I do remember. The first time I was like, I called you up and I put on an M3. I'm like, this is not working out. And this is a quick summary is, yeah, you're like, John, you're talking to me, John Wilson. You're like, I think you need to go and toss and put your old trades in and then highlight them, right? And then you get the whole list. Because I would have a new open trade. I didn't have the history. That was so confusing. It took me a while to get over that. So I know everybody's probably done that. That was pretty funny. Do you understand what I'm talking about when you're?
Yeah, the trade tracking and Thinkorswim, you make an adjustment and all of a sudden you're down $5,000 and you're like, what?
Exactly.
You're not really down $5,000. It's just you're down $5,000.
Right. Yeah, that was an eye-opening experience. But at the end of the day, the dust settled. I mean, look at us now. I mean, they were a little grayer, but it's more knowledgeable. I like to think. But no, this is great. I'm impressed. 1,000 episodes. So I had some thoughts because no one mentioned this one moment that was pretty cool, and that at least stuck out. I mean, I'm not seeing you in a bikini Hawaii. That wasn't the one I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of. It did happen in Hawaii. This was in 26.
We were actually in Hawaii, John and I together.
That's right. Those are the early episodes. Yeah. No, so it was, I can't remember who you were talking to, one of the traders, and the two words, so what? Remember that episode? Who was that?
I don't even remember who it was. Yeah. So what? Right.
Maybe Sherry will remember. Yeah. Or Steven. But yeah, you're peeling back the onion. It's like, basically, like, who cares? Like, so what you lose money, or so what you make money, right?
Oh, right. Where you went into psychology and NLP. I remember that. Yeah.
Raymond? Was that Raymond?
No.
It may have been Wayne or something like that.
Wayne. It was Wayne.
There you go.
It was Wayne.
Yeah.
It was Wayne. Yeah. But that was pretty, that was awesome. So I always think about that when, when the proverbial hits the fan, right? You always think, like, why? Like, so what? What's the big deal? Yeah. So that was pretty cool. And I'm glad I didn't see the bikini, but there was Steven.
But you did see John's belly, though, as I recall.
Yes, I did.
Please try the veal. Tip your servers. Bada bing.
Nice. Hey, okay. There's two words I like as a takeaway. One is restaurant, and one is umbrella. So you're like, okay, what's he talking about? So I was thinking about this. I talk to my teenage girls a lot, so I try to keep it simple. Maybe I need to keep it simple for me. But restaurant, this is how when I first started looking at all your episodes, and then I try to write down each strategy and, the historical performance. And it's like each one has its own meal, it's its own, I guess it's a recipe, or it's a menu. You can choose which one you want to order. So what I try to do is mix and mash, try to find my own little smorgasbord of food. And what I really enjoyed is trying to figure out which one would stick. We all are allergic to some trades. And mine, I have to say, is I've been trying so hard as the Rock, and I cannot do it. It just doesn't work. I've traded, but I can't do it in size.
Right.
But I remember a question someone asked 2 weeks ago or so, another episode. And it brought back the idea of mixing the the X4 series, which I love. That was always my favorite, is the version 17 and 22. Mm-hmm. So I'm mixing that. I call it a restaurant. You choose the food you like, and then I call it an umbrella, because I look at it when the clouds are coming, before the big rain. I like the version B22, right? Basically go into a butterfly with a call. It does better than a broken wing. We all just keep it nice and simple. So that's what I like to do. Is keep that umbrella handy when the VIX shoots up or you break support or what have you. And just take your broken wing butterfly and the SPX I like to do, and the RUT, but that's more an M3 for you. But I'll move that over to a version 22-ish. I mean, it's not perfectly like by the rules, but so I just like that combo. Broken wing, it hits the fan, just throw it over to version 22. So I really like that. So that's easier for me to eat on the menu than the rock. So that's a lot easier. But yeah, I'm rambling off here, but I have my little list in front of me. Oh, the most important thing I forgot. Dave was there in 2015. I was in Chicago at Tasty Trade. I thought I had found the golden goose. And then Dave shows up. We went for lunch, and I was like, oh man, so it's like having an ally. I was like, ah. So long story short, I left Tasty Trade and jumped on the JL bandwagon. But I felt like I was like, this is the right spot. But I do remember, John, is in 2013, when I was still kind of new at this game, because I met you or heard about you in 2012. I was like, every week you would show your rock, and you would call it. You would call the market moves so well in 2013. I'm like, this guy's actually making money. I mean, this is.
It's just for those who don't know. I mean, I went through a period of time on option trade for income. I was just calling where the market was going to be in like 2 weeks, like every or next week or whatever. Like it was so consistent. It was, John, like, what's going on?
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, these guys on Tasty Trade. I mean, they're funny guys. You're funny too. But I kept watching them and following them. They had negative delta all the time to that big up. Anyway, I was like, I got to go over this guy. This is
right.
It just took me a while. I kept 1 foot over there and 1 foot in your world. And then I finally jumped in 2015. So, but yeah, that was funny. 2013, you knocked it out of the park. Because that annual return was off the charts, wasn't it, for the rock? Do you remember?
Yeah. It was
crazy.
It was a really good year. Yeah, it was in the hundreds. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a dish on the menu I can't swallow. Yeah, it's a tough one. It's like anything. Yeah, keep it small. Don't go too big. But yeah, other than that, that's kind of the journey, and it's going to keep going, right? This is just episode 1,000. I mean, questions? How many more?
This is just right? Starting. You're just getting wound up here. But yeah,
you got to pass the baton to the daughters.
Yeah, I wish.
I'm in the same boat.
They have no interest in doing what I'm doing.
Oh no,
no. You know, so you try and foster it.
Right.
Happen, you know,
it doesn't happen.
It's like, why do I want to do that? I don't know.
That's true. But no, this is a great community. I'm glad to be here, and I think it's great that you went through the whole process. Was there a time? And my question to you though, John, was there a time during the 1,000 episodes where you're like, you know what, I got to throw in the towel. This is not going to work.
No, I don't think so. The only thing, what I have challenges with is how to teach what we're teaching in an effective way to people so that they can make progress, right? Because you just don't jump to being subjective. It's like, I know the market, what the market's doing. I showed you that in 2013. I know where the market's going with a very high likelihood, right? Why am I trading this non-subjectively? And you kind of get that thing going on, right? With that dynamic. But the reality is you kind of have to go through that stage to get where you need to go.
Yeah. You have to feel a little uncomfortable. It's healthy, right?
It's like my dance teacher told me last night. So when I do dancing, I don't know if a lot of people know that. He goes, this is the way you have to do. You have to do this exactly this way. And then he goes, and I should actually introduce this into the options trading for income. He goes, you have to do it exactly this way for now. Right? You want to follow the rules strictly for now. Until you develop the skills you need to do and it becomes internal, and then we add something and we do something different. So what I tell one person is not going to be the same thing or what I should be telling one person isn't the same thing I should be telling somebody else. It depends on where they're at and their skill level and so forth. So I really liked the for now type of thing coming into that. So
Nice.
yep.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's what I want to tell the people. Do this for now. Go ahead, Sherry.
No, I was just going to say that can be the Zeke philosophy or
Zeke, right? The
Zeke.
guy's name is Zeke.
thing.
I thought that was a UFC fighter. Okay, but yeah, Zeke. No, but how Sherry? How is his dancing skills?
Oh, well, I mean, we just keep taking lessons and we're
He's
progressing.
outstanding, actually.
Yes, he's my favorite partner. That's correct.
That's a good answer. That's a
He is.
good answer.
He's a good dancer.
I'm not her
Maybe-
favorite partner. He's
No,
her
yes,
favorite
he is, and he may eventually someday become the dancing options trader, or maybe that could be fun. We just start using a bunch of dancing, I don't know, analogies.
Well, it's all the same analogies, you know.
it
You have to learn something and internalize it, and then once you learn, like and he says the same thing. He goes, "I've told you that before." And I said, he'll tell me something. I'm like, "Why haven't you told me that before?" And he'd be like, "I've told you that for 6 months." It's just that now you're ready to hear it, right?
Right.
So it's the same thing with options trading for income. I'm going to tell you, it's like, well, a lot of people say, well, I made this amazing breakthrough, and it's like, yes, I've been telling you that for 6 months.
It's true. It's true. And you're exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, listen.
One of the comments, actually, David Heinzen said, thanks to J-Dub for his SPX entry test to help determine which X trade to initiate. So
I forgot about that. That's right.
yeah.
That's right. Nice. Yeah, Dave, thanks. That was, wow, time flies. That was, way back. That's right. That's right. Yeah, it's funny. I mean, back testing. Oh my gosh, how many thousands of hours? But it's, you know what? We are a bunch of misfits, aren't we? I mean, it is hard to, I run a meetup group in Calgary and I constantly talk about the John Locke world and these trades, and very, very few pick it up. I found it frustrating at first, and now I just realize it's not easy. You have to commit, right? It's like dancing, or diet or exercise. You got to commit, and it's easy to talk about, but I show you results. I'm like, look at this guy. You got nothing. Yeah, I'm like, nothing. I mean, crickets. No, it's not that bad. It's not that bad.
Yeah.
But some of them come over to you. But it's anyway. Yeah. But those are actually listening and stuff. It's great that we're all part of this. And I mean, we could be listening to guys talk about the stars and figure out your option trades. Like I went to that one webinar in 2012. So who knows? So there's a lot out there. There's a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot out there. But we'll teach you how to trade here if you just follow the process, right?
Exactly. No, that's awesome, John. Thanks. And Sherry, hey, I'm already looking forward to the next little excursion. So
Always.
find a beach.
Thank you for being a
You want a
friend.
beach?
There you go.
Yeah,
Find a
we'll
beach.
find a beach, John.
And John, I meant to tell you, I was so disappointed that I didn't go on the slingshot with you when we were in Florida. I was so tired, I couldn't do anything.
That's right. Yeah, I am pretty disappointed. That's
Yeah, we have to arrange something.
yeah, we will. We definitely.
All right.
Okay, you two take care. Thanks so much.
Take care, and thank
Thanks,
you
John.
for being
Thanks.
with us so long and a friend.
Oh, it's great. Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, who do we have now?
Okay, Dan is with us, and I think he's there.
Hello.
Hello, Dan. Let me see. Can we
Let's
get
see.
you on?
Yeah, give me permission to share my video, please.
Yeah, change to co-host.
There you go.
There you are.
Hey.
Hey, there he is.
Hey,
Thanks, Dan, for coming in from the
for those of you who don't know,
ocean.
yes, thanks for coming in from the beach.
You caught me on my vacation here right before school starts, but I'm glad to be chatting with you guys for a few minutes.
And we really appreciate it as well.
We do. Thank you, Dan.
Of course. I wanted to celebrate. I mean, it's pretty amazing. And you've probably gotten a lot of congratulatory comments, but I have to say 1,000 episodes. There are not many shows that last that long, and to do it that consistently, my hat's off to you. So great job, John and Sherry.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Of course, of course. So I've got the questions. You want me to kind of, what I might do is just share quickly the elevator pitch for me as a trader, just to put things into perspective, and then I can kind of tell you where I'm currently at. And I feel like when I first started with you guys, I think I'm in my third or fourth year now. I didn't know anything about options, was overwhelmed trying to find a solution, had traded a little bit here and there, more swing trading than anything else. I was in my early 40s, had just started a family, and I thought, let's give this a try. And I kind of stumbled upon you on SMB, thought to myself, well, I don't have all this time to sit in front of a computer. I've got a full-time job. I've got a new family that I just started. I've got limited time and attention. What is something that I can do to challenge myself and provide some consistent income apart from what else my family is doing? And so started the journey with you. And, you know, my personality is one which is get into something and go whole hog towards it. So I jumped in, I drank from the fire hose. I was watching every episode you had previous to what I was allowed to watch, and essentially lived and breathed trading for the first year, just incredibly encapsulated by the challenge and also just the journey, the kind of the beginning of that journey, that hunger that I had to see where I could get. And so I pretty much followed the plan, and for that first year made it through all of the various different stages to eventually trade the rock. And you know, right at that time, that's when COVID hit. And so I haven't actually traded the rock other than kind of the M3 style, because it just hasn't been there. So haven't experienced that live just yet. But I think for me, right, it's kind of the challenge of setting your expectations correctly. And you've mentioned this before, that when you get into something, especially with trading, you need to almost have a life outside of it to kind of round yourself out, whether it's other hobbies or other interests, because if you put too much into trading, it can be incredibly not only disastrous mentally, but also financially, because you're not taking things in moderation in a way. And so I had to finally kind of take off the gas and say, hey, this is more of a marathon than it is a sprint. And then life got busy with my kid growing up. And so I'm now at a place where I first was trading as many of the different trades as I could, but still had time to complete them, to now focusing primarily on M34U because it fits into my lifestyle, meaning it's fairly simple. I'm not having to roll back a bunch. Sometimes I don't even have time at 3:30 here on the East Coast to be able to make an adjustment. And so I'm having to be creative, right? Maybe go into toss and set some rules that say, if the market goes down this far and it happens to be at this time, fire off this trade. And if it happens to be going this far, fire off this trade. And so you have to really kind of get creative with the timing of it all. But it just kind of goes into the play of things and the practice of things. And so that's kind of where I'm at, trading M34U. And I'm right at that point now where I feel like, as a child, I'm about to take off the training wheels. So I'm on the tricycle and I'm taking those training wheels off. And it's sometimes, you know, one step forward, two steps back, or two steps forward, one step back. And it's kind of the slog of it all, where sometimes I feel like I'm clairvoyant and I see where the market is going, and then make a bad move and feel as though I'm all the way back to my year one because I'm not able to read the market the way that you and some of the other members do, right? So I think it's very humbling to take it in stride. And so M34U is sort of my trade. I'm transitioning away from, you know, at the beginning, if there's anybody kind of in their first couple of years, I think my biggest point to make is follow the process, meaning just learn the rules, trade them. If you're very new to this, you're not going to really understand the why just yet. You'll get there, right? The more you do it, the more you start to see other different variables, and you start to kind of build an understanding for when these trades do well and when they don't. You can start, you know, look at, of course, OTFI every week, and you can kind of skip to the chapter of the trades that you're monitoring if you don't have a lot of time. So what I do is I'll even take a look at Sherry's timestamps, and I can see right away where you, John, talk a little bit more in length on a certain trade because the gap between one trade to another is much
Right.
right? Or sometimes it's a minute and a half, other times it's 20 minutes. And I'm like, oh, I've got some juicy stuff to kind of learn from John in this certain area. So I think it's just about figuring out what works best for you. And if you're like me and you don't have a ton of time, you really have to kind of figure out, how do you clear out the noise and how do you get to a point where you're focusing on the most important step for you, and don't worry about kind of the social media of trading, the trades where people are doing really well and kind of boasting about it on the internet, and stay away from YouTube as much as you can, because all of that is just noise. And there's a million different ways to trade. And a lot of people have stumbled left and right to kind of figure out what is the best method for them. If you've come here and you've stayed a while, you understand that this might suit your personality. And then it's all about learning this specific way. And you can branch out if you'd like, but I find that the better you get at something, the more narrow you want to find that specialty. Meaning when we first get into it, we're jack of all trades, right? Your understanding of everything is a mile wide, but it's an inch deep. And then you have to really kind of narrow down, because you don't need to know everything in this world. You just need to know a sliver of it. And if you know that sliver, you can go a mile deep and you can be incredibly successful. So I've been working with Stephen and John to kind of understand how to clear out that noise and be able to focus one step at a time and slowly get better, and know that right now, because I'm in the thick of things, sometimes my ego will take a hit. Sometimes my P&L is going to take a hit. But as long as you slowly progress and you get a little bit better each time, and try to get those reps in by back testing and trying out different versions and seeing, if I made this move, how's that going to work out at the end compared to I've make this other move, you finally kind of get a little bit better each and every day. So it's been fun. I've built up a community and some good friendships with the people here. And if you're new and you're just seeing this for the first time, if you're a feather out there and you're floating in the wind and you're trying to figure out I want to get into trading, but I'm overwhelmed by the options, and I look at the internet and I see these guys buying Lambos and living the high life, and I don't think that that's really real, then stay here for a bit and just understand, right, that you're not gonna be incredibly successful the first year or two, or it depends on everybody's path. But it's like learning the guitar. It's like learning the piano. You don't figure it out right away and join a band. You have to kind of put in the hours and the time, and just know that all of that work in the front end, by building consistency and just being true to yourself, not thinking about the big home run just yet, it's going to pay off in the end. And at least that's what I tell myself every day, that I sometimes slip up, and, I'm not perfect either, but it's been a wild ride.
Me too.
Right? You'll learn a lot about yourself during this. I tell you, I know more about my personality and my ways than I think I did before joining your community, just because there's so much self-reflection that you need to do. And the market really does prey upon the inconsistencies, or the, quote unquote, challenges that you might have as a person. And so you have to be really self-reflective. And if you kind of shy away from that and you think, I've got what it takes, or I'm not gonna worry about these skeletons in my closet that are making me impulsive or making me think the wrong thing. Well, until you start tackling that, you're not going to be any better off. So you're in a way, John, a therapist of mine. So thank you for that. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome. glad to be of service, as they say.
Right.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. But hopefully that helps. It's been quite the journey, and I'm loving every minute of it too.
It does, and I don't know if anybody knows, Dan is on our team as well. He helps us with a lot of stuff going on within the background. So he's there helping out, and I greatly appreciate your being a member, you're being a friend, and helping out with the business as well.
You got it. Yeah. If you ever see any of those YouTube videos up, that's me kind of putting them up and finding different topics. So if for anybody out there, if I miss something, or you're looking at a video and you say, oh man, I think the rest of this world would love to see this topic, go ahead and ping me on Discord, and I can look it up and get it over onto YouTube. So I'm trying to spread the word of John and Sherry and all the good that they do. So happy to be here, John.
Yeah. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you, Dan.
Yeah.
Always.
As always. Absolutely.
1,000 more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's see. So do we have anybody else, or is Dan was our
Yeah.
last guest for today? Awesome.
Yeah.
I was the
Thank you.
caboose. Okay.
You were the
grand,
caboose.
here, the grand finale.
The grand finale comes with Dan. Yeah. That's awesome.
encore. There you go.
Yeah. So well, thank you. We appreciate you being here, and we'll see you shortly.
You got it. All the best. See you guys.
Thank you. So that's it. So we're going to close this thing up. And yeah, someone's asking about Discord. We do have a Discord server. Well, for members, obviously. And I guess, Sherry, you can talk to
Basic
that.
members can join it also. Let me throw the link into the chat and you can take a look at it. So, okay.
So we can do that.
It's in the chat. Yep. So there you
Awesome.
go.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's our basic member Discord group. Basic membership is free. If you want to just kind of lurk out in the on the sidelines, you can do that. And when you get serious about, making some progress as a trader, come on in and, join our Go membership. And with that, I'd like to thank everybody for coming on and spending the time with us and attending. And we're really excited to be able to reach this milestone of 1,000 episodes. We encourage you to join us and join the successful traders that are with our membership. And I don't know if you have anything else to say, Sherry, or anybody else.
I don't. I just want to, thank John for spending the amount of time that he does and his dedication to helping others succeed. And that's kind of what we're all about. So we've tried over the years. I mean, the development of this series is we've added trade logs, we've added indexes to help make it more, and transcripts. And so we have obviously different people that don't necessarily speak English, but now they can translate it, which is helpful. So I mean, the evolution of the series has really, we just focus on you guys. Like, how can we best help you? So if you have suggestions, we're always willing to listen and see if we can incorporate them, and always trying to evolve to better serve you. So if there's any suggestions, we're always here to hear them. So thank you.
Absolutely. And thank you, everybody, for joining and for following me and putting your trust in me. It's a great honor. Right. So with that, we'll sign off and trade well, everybody.